Well, hey, everybody, welcome back to another Client Side Chats. We have a special guest. This is Deborah Roy. And so, Deborah, welcome to Client Side Chats. It's great to have you here. Real quick, for those of you who don't know much about Deborah Roy, Deborah is president of her own company, that is SafeTech Consultants Incorporated. It's been around since 1990. And off camera, we were talking about the idea of discussing things where safety successes, which, those of you who know Deborah, you know that she definitely has had a lot of good safety successes. But we decided, right, Deborah, that we're going to talk about where you might be thinking the future of safety would be going, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in the last year, in my volunteer role as president of the American Society of Safety Professionals, I've had the opportunity to really think about sort of where the profession is going. And I would say we're all on a journey. And if we think about when we came into the field, and James, I'll include you in that,
Thank you.
a few years ago, right?
A few, I like that. That's good.
A few. So, most of the time we came in because of compliance, really. Our approach in our roles in safety was really compliance oriented. And in fact, even today, a lot of safety professionals are hired because of the compliance requirements that businesses have. But the fact is, over time, we do actually improve our level of understanding of the field, and the environment around us has changed, and there are different expectations on safety professionals over time. So I think we're really at the point where even if you start at compliance level, we all have an opportunity and an obligation to actually explore the journey of a safety professional and to evolve our career over time. And I think the idea is, yes, we start there and we're focused on regulations, but regulations are really the floor. They're really the entry into the field, but we then need to think about what else do we need to do? And that may move you to best practices or looking at consensus standards, for example, and really focusing on those. And in fact, there are some risks that actually are not addressed in any of the regulations. For example, robotics are not addressed per se in the regulations. You
Right.
would have to go to a standard for that, even lasers, for example. So any of those kinds of areas where you can progress in your understanding of the field, I think there's some opportunity is to grow your knowledge over time, and then move potentially to safety and health management systems, which is again a broader concept or view of the safety and health profession. That generally also includes, or may later include, risk assessment, which is a really critical aspect of, I think, our role today. And as you start looking at risk assessment, you think about human error, you think about the performance of humans in our workplace and how we support the best performance from those humans. And over time, when we think about those individuals, we realize that they're broader than what we see in a workplace 8 hours a day. Those individuals really come to us with all kinds of potential limitations and also strengths. So I think it's important to look at those individuals as a whole. And one of our opportunities as safety and health professionals, as we actually move along in our journey of health and safety, is really start to have a more comprehensive view of the field. And that includes all of the inputs to that worker. You can call it a comprehensive health and safety program. You can also call it total worker health, for example. So if we think about that concept, which was coined by NIOSH way back in 2011, the idea of total worker health is you're really looking at everything that impacts a worker, and as a collaborative group of professionals support those individuals. So it's not necessarily just what the safety people do. It's what everybody does to support those workers. It's the policies from HR and the HR professionals interacting with those people. It's the safety professionals, it's operations, it may be a wellness team in the group, but it's all of those people who interact with that individual. And that allows us as safety and health professionals to really look at the field more broadly and really look at, we've now progressed from basic compliance, sort of entry level into the field and entry level for an organization. And through that journey, we've expanded our knowledge and actually our value to the organizations that we actually provide consulting for or that we actually work for. And so the opportunity there is we become more valuable to those organizations. And we also have more skills to be able to offer to those employees we serve.
Right. I mean, this is great. I mean, thank you for that. That's a great thought process and really kind of outlining the direction and the journey of a safety professional and elevating the safety profession at the same time, bringing that value in, making a difference to our organizations. What would you say might be a step that a safety professional who's coming into the field, maybe 5, 10 years of experience, might think about doing to kind of further down that road, get down that road of the journey here and really make that value impression on their organization? Anything that you would give, just a brief kind of thing? Mhm.
Sure. I think one of the things to think about, particularly if you've already progressed some into maybe best practices and standards and maybe a little into safety management systems, is really start looking at your risks in the organization. And out of those risks, identify which ones are serious or could cause fatal injury and illness. And we use terms like SIF, so serious and fatal incident. We also use FSI, so fatal and serious incident. And Z10, for example, uses FSII, which is fatal and serious injury and illness.
Right.
So the terminology, I think, sometimes frustrates people, but it's all the same thing. The idea is, I think if once you're focused on risks, if you take a subset of those risks and start really focusing on the fatal and serious ones, you have an opportunity to really make a huge difference in that organization. And in fact, a lot of large organizations that have fairly sophisticated programs didn't focus on those areas and unfortunately had serious incidents that occurred, often with fatalities. And so it's really important that we look at that. And a lot of organizations you don't think of as having a potential for fatalities, for example. I know my leadership, when I was in the executive role at LL Bean, really didn't think about that in our organization. But we had lots of things. If you think about warehousing, we had lots of opportunities for fatal potential. And so I think focusing on that fatal potential, you may need to start collecting near miss data, for example, because you may not be collecting that. That's often a gold mine of potential fatal and serious incidents. So I think that's a really important place to start if you're trying to really expand your knowledge base, because I think oftentimes we find as safety professionals that what we do to get rid of sort of the low-lying hazards is very different than what we would do in these more serious incidents. And you can't really use the same approach. So it's a really good way to not only protect people in a more enhanced way, but also to really broaden your own knowledge.
Great. That's great. If I may just say real quick, is that it's almost like looking from the safety compliance technical perspective and starting to add in risk from an enterprise standpoint and really getting to understand that component and then being able to move beyond into the total worker health environment. So great. Well, Deborah, thank you very much for being a guest on our client side chats. We'd love to have you back again in the future. Congratulations on a very difficult year or challenging year with ASSP, with the pandemic and everything. I have to tell you, at least from us, we really think you did a great job leading the team. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, take care.